we're glad you're with us. This is going to be Jake Scott at the 7. Good run back, 38-yard line, collared by Terry Brown, and Miami's going to start off in a great spot on the field.
I think this is one of the places that the Dolphins perhaps have an edge over Minnesota on special team performance. They have been just excellent.
Paul Warfield, number 42, is starting. The tight end will be Jim Mandich, number 88. Wide receiver, number 86, Marlon Briscoe, will break from that huddle in a second. You know the runners, Mercury Morris, 22, immediately behind Zonka, number 39, and Bob Greasy is the quarterback from the Miami 38-yard line. Warfield is to the left. This is Briscoe in motion. Mercury Morris trying to get outside. Carl Eller gets him from behind. He picks up about 4 yards. And Bart Starr, I want to ask you right here at the outset, what could that man in motion that Miami used do to this defense of Minnesota?
Well, Ray, first of all, it could force Paul Krause into becoming the strong side safety, a position he's not normally used to playing, and this creates also a specific coverage which the Vikings are going to be forced to play also.
We're not going to give you a rundown now of the performers on the field because they are as introduced before the game. Gain of 4, second down 6, Dolphins, Dolphin 42. Zonka. He picked up just a couple. The Dolphins are going to have a 3rd and 4, and Roy Winston upset him.
This is an awesome Miami running game. Let's look at the blocking here as Kuchenberg comes behind. Larry Little gets a fine block on Jeff Seaman, but Eller and Gary Larson, with help from Roy Winston, managed to control the play at the line of scrimmage. Miami basically a running team. They threw the ball very little in the playoffs so far.
This time, Greasy sets 2 wide receivers to the right, Briscoe and Warfield, on 3rd down and 4. This is Briscoe in motion. No, it's Warfield. That was Warfield in motion. Complete, first down, 43-yard line of Minnesota, the tight end, Jim Mandich.
And perhaps, Ray, we should also mention an injury to this man. Mandich had a broken thumb. He had played previously with a cast on his thumb. That cast was removed, and now he's just got it wrapped very securely.
Jim Kick was in the backfield on that last play, replacing Morris, but he's out of there. Morris is back in, as the initial first down of the game belongs to the Dolphins at the Viking 43. Warfield, left side. Briscoe, right side. Morris. Nothing there at all. First man to meet him, Alan Page. Bob Greasy, passing ever so sparingly in playoff action, and for a very good reason. He hasn't had to.
They've been able to control the ball on the ground. Greasy, by the way, says that he concentrates so thoroughly during the course of a game that he's not aware that there are people in the stands. He's not aware of what his teammates even are saying to him in the huddle. Many times they talk to him, but he doesn't hear.
Jim Kick is in the backfield, number 21. He's lined up to the left of Zonka. Second down, 10. Might have lost a half yard. There goes Zonka. And he has a first down inside the 30. Paul Krause, the free safety, had to make the tackle.
Excellent blocking up front by Kuchenberg on Page. Zonka makes the good cut. It was a cross block, I beg your pardon, between Wayne Moore and Kuchenberg. Kuchenberg blocking out on Jim Marshall. Moore blocking down on Page. The rest is good running by Zonka.
Morris is back in. Dolphins first down and 10. Viking 27-yard line. Briscoe breaks to the right. Warfield comes left. Bobby Bryant is giving Warfield a lot of room. On first down, this is Briscoe. It's complete, 21-yard line in front of Nate Wright, the cornerback who shoved him out. It's going to bring up a second down for the Dolphins. Super Bowl VIII is just underway. The Dolphins took the opening kickoff, and by golly, the team that has been scoring first in these playoffs has gone on to win every time, have they not, Pat?
This is the kind of situation that certainly the Vikings do want to avoid. There's the other quarterback, the one that Ray mentioned in his opening remarks, that wants to shed for all time the label that his haunted him, I guess you could say, throughout his career. The fact that he cannot win the big one. This is the big one.
Second down, 4. There's Zonka, and that might be another first down around the 16. He dragged Alan Page the last couple of yards with him. And there is Bud Grant, described as imperturbable. Speaking of men who have the ability to concentrate.
It is a first down, Ray. Bud Grant explained, by the way, why he doesn't do much moving around on the sidelines, that he stays in the same place and doesn't pace as some of the other coaches do. He's one of the few who wears a headset and talks directly to his coaching staff. And he says the reason I don't move around is because I got a short cord.
Marlon Briscoe goes to the right, Paul Warfield to the left. The Dolphins have a 1st and 10 at the Viking 16. Zonka. What tremendous power. He's within 2 yards of a first down. Looked like it might be a gain of 1 or 2, but Zonka turned it into about an 8-yard gain.
He was hit almost at the same time that he got the ball. We'll watch it from the end zone here and see who makes the initial contact, but they don't get him down. Bart, the offensive line for Miami is doing just about what they want to.
This is Mercury Morris, and that looks like a 1st and goal at the 5. Jeff Seaman and Wally Hilgenberg made the tackle. Now, Alan Page is talking with one of the officials. I have seen no penalty marker, just a conversation. It's a 1st and goal. There have been no changes defensively for Minnesota. It is still, as announced, Marshall, Page, Larson, Eller, Hilgenberg, Seaman, Winston. The 2 rights, Nate and Jeff, Bryant and Krause. Don Shula. Warfield will line up just outside the tight end. Warfield in motion. Zonka. Touchdown. A methodical, beautifully executed drive, and the Dolphins are on the board first with 9:33 left to play in the first quarter. Pat.
A play that developed and initially looked like it was going wide to Morris, but back inside to Zonka, and the rest he does by himself. Jeff Seaman is not lined up in front of the center here. He was way over on the weak side. And with the movement that he had to make, he just couldn't get himself set in time to meet the charge of a man as big as Larry Zonka.
Extra point try. Earl Morrow holds. Gary Premian kicks, and the Dolphins have the lead by 7 points. So in that drive, Greasy threw twice, completed twice. Zonka carried 5 times, 37 yards, got the touchdown, and it's 7-0. Premian to kick. Gilliam, 42. Charlie West, number 40, to receive. This is Charlie West at the goal line. Upset at the 13-yard line. Henry Stuckey, a defensive back of the Dolphins, made that tackle. And so Fran Tarkenton will start with a Minnesota offense that has seen one significant change. At right guard, you will see number 66, Frank Gallagher, in place of Milt Sunday, who had to be deactivated because of knee just did not respond. That leg injury didn't come around, and he is at right guard. Mick Tingelhoff is over the ball. The runners, Foreman, 44, Oscar Reed, 32. Foreman out to about the 19-yard line. Bart Starr, I wonder if I could ask you, in looking back at the Vikings' victory over Dallas when Tarkenton consistently was throwing on first down, was it the nature of the opposition, the type of defense that you think dictated that sort of a strategy on the part of Tarkenton?
I certainly think so, Ray. I think that they felt that you could very well predict what Dallas was going to do, and I think this is the reason they did that.
Doug Kingsrider, number 89, is in. He is a tight end. There are 2 tight ends in. Foreman. And he did not get back to the line of scrimmage. He was hit very, very hard. And there's going to be no gain on the play. This telecast is presented by authority of the National Football League. It's intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the National Football League is prohibited. Forward progress is ruled the 19-yard line, and for the Vikings, a key 3rd and 5.
And Miami and their familiar, also familiar, 53 defense with just 3 down linemen and an extra linebacker, number 53, Bob Matheson.
Parkinson has a 3rd and 5. This is Foreman. And he appears to be about a yard shy of a first down. Manny Fernandez, showing tremendous lateral pursuit, made the tackle.
This is a play that Minnesota used with great effectiveness against Dallas. Pass to Foreman out in the flat. He does a good job of running, but not a very basic job of holding on to the football, or carrying the football, I should say. He didn't lose it. But when you get hit with the ball at arm's length like that, it's pretty tough to hold on.
And so as Tarkenton goes to the sidelines, the punting unit comes in. Mike Eyeshide to punt. Great return men, Dick Anderson, Jake Scott back, as the Miami defense is equal to the first challenge from the Viking offense. Jake Scott on the run, and he loses the ball. Oh, the Dolphins. Somebody was very alert, because Jake Scott was really cracked, and somehow he got the ball back.
Let's look again. This could have been a big break for the Vikings, as Scott really has got to scramble to get it back. Terry Brown had a shot at it right there.
Along the sidelines, the Dolphins look out to the field as their offense takes over at the Dolphin 44-yard line. That was Ron Porter who made that big hit. Morris trying to get outside. Look at those moves. He turned what looked like a no-gain play, maybe a loss, into about a gain of 5.5, and Paul Krause made the tackle.
Jim Marshall almost broke this play down before it got underway. Here comes Little to take him down, but Marshall made a good play. The rest of it is done by Morris and those quick feet. Boy, he can move him, can't he?
Gain from the 44 to the 49. It is a 2nd down and 5. Out to the right is Briscoe. Over to the left is Warfield. It's a strong formation to the right with Mandich on the right side. This is Mandich, the tight end. Roy Winston, the linebacker, on that side, the left side, shoved him out of bounds, but this is inside the 45 of Minnesota, and the Dolphins are on the move again with another first down. 6:15 left to play first quarter. Number 88, Jim Mandich.
That's one thing I was checking over the multitude of notes that we have, and I'm sure everybody else does who's here about this game. The team that scored the first touchdown has won every Super Bowl game, and we're number 8.
The Dolphins are leading 7-0. First quarter. Mercury Morris this time. He dives to the 39-yard line. Paul Krause came up to help out Jeff Seaman, and Gary Larson was there too. And so Jim Kick, number 21, is going to replace Morris. 2nd down. A little more than 5 yards to go for a first down. A 10-play scoring drive by the Dolphins as they lead 7-0. Zonka scored the touchdown. Greasy completed 2 of 2 passes in the drive. Briscoe goes right. Nate Wright moves out with him. Warfield comes wide left, and Bobby Bryant gives him a lot of room. Zonka shedding tacklers. He has a first down.
He has just amazing body control and power. Don't underestimate the offensive line. They're doing a good job. As Norm Evans screened out Gary Larson nicely, but the rest of it, again, as we said before, is that really just fantastic strength of Larry Zonka, and Bud Grant should be concerned.
First down, Dolphins. Viking 32-yard line. Just 5 minutes now left in the first quarter. Behind the line. Jim Kick is met by Alan Page, and did he get off the ball fast that time?
He's about as quick off the ball as any lineman in pro football. He lines up very close to his opponent and really just fires off. Kick had no chance.
So one of the very few times as we watch Kick being hit by Alan Page that the Dolphins have lost anything so far today. It was a loss of 2.5. Call it second down 12 at the Viking 34. Zonka. Fantastic. He almost picked up a first down. Nate Wright and Paul Krause from the secondary had to make the tackle as they're continuing to run off that right side with great success off the Dolphins' right side.
This is an excellent call by Greasy. Remember, it's 2nd and 11, and the Vikings are rushing accordingly, expecting a pass. Bart?
Pat, I was just going to second that. That was an excellent call because the Vikings were in a double zone defense to shut off both outside receivers that time, and I thought it was a beautiful call. Great place for it.
Zonka, by the way, has carried 7 times for 57 yards already.
The 2 tight ends will go in now. This familiar maneuver by almost all of the professional teams. Marv Fleming now, number 80, will join Jim Mandich. And Marv Fleming is no stranger to Super Bowl competition.
In fact, with this appearance, he sets an all-time record for one individual playing in Super Bowls. This is number 5. Ray, he's made over $140,000 in playoff money. That's more than I made in 10 years in the league.
Just now, Mercury Morris replaced Jim Kick. It is third, less than a yard, at the Viking 22. Zonka is lined up directly in front of Mercury Morris. There he goes, Zonka. First down at the 14. Jeff Wright and Paul Krause again had to make the defensive play, which tells us again what this offensive line plus Zonka's power is doing.
There's a guy right there with blocking on Alan Page, number 62, Jim Langer, that you don't hear too much about. Zonka now up to 65 yards, but Langer is one of the best centers in pro football, no question about it. You just don't hear too much about him.
Ever pacing Don Shula looking on as his Dolphins have a first down now at the Viking 14-yard line. On first down. That's Marlon Briscoe at the 1. Nate Wright and Jeff Wright made the tackle, but Greasy has been absolutely on target the few times he's thrown.
And this is also a remarkable catch by Briscoe. Greasy threw the ball. Ball's in the air before Briscoe ever looked.
And he's 4 for 4 now, Pat, for 49 yards is Bob Greasy. Jim Kick is in now. The 2 tight ends are in, Mandich and Fleming. First and goal, Dolphins leading by 7 and less than a yard away from leading by 13. Jim Kick. Did he get it? Roy Winston upset him. No signal yet that he got into the end zone, so he stopped that close.
I'm pretty sure his feet got into the end zone, but that's not the key in a situation like this. The ball has to get into the end zone for a touchdown to be called. They didn't argue too much, so they must have been satisfied.
So second down, goal, a foot away. Bob Lertzema is in defensively for Minnesota. Touchdown, Jim Kick. So the Dolphins strike the first 2 times they have the football.
We've just got a minute and 22 seconds remaining first period. We'll look at the touchdown again. Minnesota's run just 3 plays. Jim Kick. Kuchenberg with an excellent block on Lertzema right there.
For the second time, Ephraimian will try for an extra point. Earl Morrill, the holder. There just is not anything that a team should be asked to do offensively and defensively that the Dolphins have not done so far. They've had the ball twice. They've scored twice. The Vikings have had it once, and the defense shut off that Viking offense once. Kremian ready to kick. Gilliam and West to receive. Charlie West at the 5. A marker is back at the Viking 20-yard line as West went out of bounds at the 24. Bill Brown, the veteran running back of the Minnesota Vikings, checking with the officials, and referee Ben Dreith in a moment will give us the call. Holding Minnesota. So to add to the Vikings' woes, they must start here. Fran Tarkenton and his offensive unit from very deep in Viking territory. The Vikings will have Grady Alderman, 67, Ed White, 62, Mick Tingelhoff, 53, Frank Gallagher, 66. There again is that same holding. Vikings from the Viking 11. On first down, Tarkenton to Foreman. He is again out to the 16-yard line. It'll be 2nd and 5, and Mike Colin and Dick Anderson made that defensive play. Since we did not introduce the Viking offensive unit before the game, nor the Dolphin defensive unit, let's do that right now. We got down as far as Frank Gallagher, I believe, the right guard, playing in place of Milt Sunday. Ron Yerry, number 73, is the right tackle. Stu Voigt, number 83, is the tight end, and he's joined now by another tight end, Doug Kingsrider, number 89. The running backs are Chuck Foreman, number 44, the brilliant rookie. Oscar Reed, number 32. Wide receiver, John Gilliam, number 42, is out to the left. This is Oscar Reed. Manny Fernandez collars him after a gain of a couple.
Bud Grant, of course, on the left side, and Don Shula. Get a good look at that, because this is what they look like in their playing days, which was back about 1950. Bud Grant and Don Shula. Both were great competitors. I'm sorry, Ray.
For the Vikings, 3rd down and 4, and Matheson is in that Miami Dolphin defensive unit now. Foreman in motion. Doug Kingsrider, the tight end, has the first down of the game for the Minnesota Vikings, and he really caught that in traffic. But Pat
took a heck of a catch to get the Vikings their first down.
That might have been the final play of the first quarter, because the last 5 seconds are right now ticking away. That's the end of the first quarter with the score. The Miami Dolphins 14, the Minnesota Vikings nothing. For the Dolphins, Bill Stanfield 84, Manny Fernandez 75, Vern Denherter 83. Bob Matheson has been added, number 53, to linebackers Doug Swift, Nick Bonaconte, and Mike Colin. First down, Vikings. Viking 27-yard line. Foreman. He's out to the 32-yard line. Bob Matheson made the tackle. And now the remaining members of this Dolphin defense. They've been on the field such a very short period of time, we haven't had a chance to give you a rundown. The cornerbacks are Curtis Johnson, 45, Lloyd Mumford, 26, Dick Anderson, 40, Jake Scott, 13 are the safety men. The Vikings picked up 5 yards on first down, so it's 2nd and 5 now at the Viking 32. And Minnesota still going with the 2 tight ends.
I think probably because of the frequency in which Miami plays that defense with only 3 down linemen, with an extra linebacker. They feel they can run against it, or they should be able to.
Oscar Reed just across the 35, and Minnesota will have a 3rd and 1.5, and it was Manny Fernandez, number 75, who stopped the running play. Now Bob Hines, number 72, will replace Matheson, and the Vikings are going to make a change. Number 68, Chuck Goodrum, is coming in, and Doug Kingsrider goes out, and Goodrum has many times come into play on a short yardage situation.
If he lines up on the end of the line, which he is doing now in the backfield, in fact, not now, but he is an eligible pass receiver. He is reported to the referee.
Oscar Reed might be short. He needed to reach just beyond the 37. The Vikings, or the Dolphins, are already sending in members of their special team anticipating a Minnesota punt. In the Dallas game, Bart, I'm not sure how many times, but the Vikings again and again in a situation like this, they went for the first down, and Bud Grant okayed it.
They certainly did, and they made every gamble they made that day pay off for them, Ray.
But as I recall, it was in deeper in Dallas territory than where they are now, and the punting unit is coming on.
So Mike Eyeshide will punt as the Dolphins lead the Vikings by 14-0. That's Alan Page apparently talking with Neil Armstrong. Pat, did you guess it?
I think he got the headset.
Carl Eller.
That is Carl Eller, who got the headset away from Neil Armstrong to talk with one of the Viking coaches upstairs.
Jake Scott at the 21. Gets it out to the 28, and there he met Mick Tingelhoff. Now let's see, can the Dolphins quite possibly put together yet another scoring drive? They've had 2 touchdowns, both of them 10 plays. No changes for Miami, no changes for Minnesota. Zonka and Morris will start out as the running backs on 1st and 10. Both wide receivers are on the left, Briscoe and Warfield. Briscoe in motion. Mercury Morris. Beyond the 40. Chased out of bounds by Jeff Wright. Lightning quick, Mercury Morris gets outside.
This is one of the best looking offensive units I think I've ever seen. The block by Kuchenberg took Eller out. Zonka got the block on Jeff Seaman. Mercury Morris got away from Winston, and then his speed did the rest for him.
First down, Dolphins. Dolphin 42-yard line. 14-0. The Vikings have not been able to get to midfield. Zonka trying to get outside, and he is held, and I use that word advisedly, held to about a 3-yard gain. And that was Wally Hilgenberg, who got to him at the out-of-bounds line and help from Jim Marshall. Gain on the play, 2.5 yards. Kick comes in, number 21. That touchdown scored by Kick, the Dolphins' second of the game, was his first of this 1973-74 season.
Young man next to Don Shula, behind him now, is his oldest son, David, who keeps charts and records that Don likes to refer to from time to time.
2nd and 8. Alan Page gets Greasy. Roy Winston came on to help, so the Vikings were blitzing on 2nd and 8. So there's something that'll go into his notebook, young Shula.
Well, we mentioned before how quick Alan Page is off the ball, and he lines up. Many times it looks like he might even be off sides, and then as quick as he is, if he has a gap on either side of the offensive guard, he just by you and into the backfield before you can make a move.
There was a loss of 11. It is a 3rd down and 19. Jim Kick, number 21, is in. Briscoe to the right, Warfield to the left. He's throwing for Briscoe. And Greasy really got decked. I don't know how he got rid of that football. Carl Eller hit Greasy the instant he released that football, and he still was right on target.
There is no way that he could have known whether that pass were caught or not. Bart Starr?
Thank you very much, Pat. I think right here in this play we're going to see why Paul Krause is such a great free safety. Watch how far he comes on this throw. Keep your eye on him. Keep your eye on him. Just watch him come here. His action says it all. The ball was well thrown, but look how far he came. That's great free safety.
And you know, Bart, that's the first pass that Greasy has not completed. Larry Seipel to punt. Oh, an all-out rush, but he gets it away. Fair catch. Bobby Bryant. Vikings will have it at the Viking 27. Change for the Dolphins. At the left corner, Tim Foley, number 25, in place of Lloyd Mumford. First down, Minnesota, Viking 27-yard line, and there's Larry Zonka, who has already carried for big yardage and scored the first touchdown. Kingsrider, number 89, is wide to the right. Gilliam to the left. This is Foreman. Pickup of about 3 yards. Dick Anderson from the secondary and Tim Foley, his teammate in that second line of defense, made the tackle. And now on 2nd and 8, Bob Matheson comes in, Bob Hines goes out, and that'll happen a lot of times.
Anytime the Dolphins think they have you in even a possible passing situation, they make that change.
This time, Gilliam and Kingsrider are to the left. Matheson, along with Den Herder and Fernandez, Dale Tarkenton inside the Viking 20.
This is what makes that defense so tough to block out, because you don't really know if Matheson's going to rush or if he's going to drop off in pass coverage. This time he does rush. He gets away there from Gallagher, and then Vern, Den Herder, and Manny Fernandez take Tarkenton down.
Loss on the play of 11 yards. 3rd down, 17. Larry Zonka apparently sustained an injury around his one eye. So on 3rd and long yardage, Kingsrider goes right. Gilliam comes left. 10.5 minutes left to play in the first half. 14-0 Miami. Tarkenton. Kingsrider. The Vikings believe he should have been ruled to have been in bounds. Let's watch it again.
Kingsrider, who is normally a tight end, being hit by Tim Foley, getting back up. I don't think he had first down yardage when he had to come back for the ball, but perhaps he did. They dropped the markers on the sideline. Got to have both feet in bounds. And our view is just obliterated.
It was ever so close. But he was ruled out of bounds. Mike Eyeshide to punt.
13 back deep, along with Anderson, number 40, Mike Eyeshide, running for Minnesota.
He hits a very good one. Fair catch. Jake Scott, 34-yard line of the Dolphins. Dolphins at the Dolphin 34-yard line. That's Morris in the slot to the left. Briscoe coming in motion. Zonka trying to get outside, and this time the Dolphins closed it in pretty well as cornerback Nate Wright turned it in. Eller and Larson were there to make the tackle. A marker was dropped on that last play. Personal foul against Minnesota. So a costly penalty now, and instead of a short gain on Zonka's run, a major penalty against the Vikings with just under 10 minutes left to play in the first half. And the ball comes over to the Viking 49-yard line. And referee Ben Dreif now gives the signal again. Personal foul. A capacity crowd here at Rice Stadium in Houston, Texas.
I didn't see him.
And Wally Hilgenberg was the man ruled to have committed the personal foul. Linebacker for the Vikings. 1st and 10, Dolphins. Bobby Bryant really hit Paul Warfield, grabbing off his, I think that's his first catch of the game. And he really was greeted by cornerback Bobby Bryant. But a gain on the play of 6 yards, and it'll be 2nd down and 4. And Greasy has completed all of his passes. Let's see, except one. 5 out of 6, 55 yards. Warfield left, Briscoe right. 2nd down, 4 Dolphins. Zonka about a yard short of a first down at the 40 as Hilgenberg and Seaman pinched in to make the tackle. Warfield comes right. Morris, first down. He ran into one of the officials, or he might have had even greater yardage. Paul Krause had to make the tackle at the Viking 30.
Again, that offensive line, look at him come off the ball. Zonka leading the play through. Mercury Morris. There's some argument as to who is the strongest man on this Dolphin team. But Merck is certainly one of three. The other two are Fernandez. The other one is a rookie guard named Newman, Ed Newman.
Briscoe is back in. Fleming is out. 1st and 10 Dolphins. Zonka. An incredible performance by Larry Zonka.
Just can't get him down. Morris leading the play. Zonka now has 81 yards and 12 carries.
He picked up about 8 that time, 8.5 at second and less than 2. And almost 8 minutes remain in the first half. The Dolphins scoring the first 2 times they had possession. And Miami very, very close to breaking this game wide open. Goes Zonka again. This time there is nothing there at all. And the man responsible, young middle linebacker Jeff Seaman, with help from Jim Marshall. Seaman wears number 50. Marshall is 70.
Jeff Seaman has done quite a job. He is, of course, number 50. And he's the man, whether it be Seaman or Bonaconte, that really the offensive line has to contain and control, because the middle linebacker is the key to almost every defense.
I think we can label this maybe the most important play of this first half. It could decide whether the Dolphins go on and really do break it wide open. Zonka, and he didn't get the first down. He is just short of the 20. He was upset by Carl Eller. Gary Larson helped out. And the kicking unit goes on. So Darryl Epremian will try to put the Dolphins in front by 17 instead of 14, as Don Shula has made the decision to go for 3. The clock running when the ball is snapped. About 6 minutes will remain in the first half. And again, the holder is Earl Morrow. This will be an attempt of 28 yards. He certainly has the distance, and he's right on target. Epremian getting ready to kick. Sort of a squibber. It was overrun by Gilliam, and Charlie West will have to watch it roll over the end line for a touchback. So the Vikings will start from the Minnesota 20, and correct me, Pat, I don't believe Minnesota's been in Dolphin territory yet.
Not yet. Miami has already scored more points, 17, than any other team has in a Super Bowl in the first half.
Mumford has replaced Foley now at the left corner. Lloyd Mumford, number 26. Other than that, the Dolphin defense remains as it has been most times. Foreman. Dolphins closing fast in the person of linebacker Doug Swift, and the brilliant Foreman is held to a gain of a yard. And Kingsrider comes off the bench now, number 89, and he'll replace Carroll Dale, who was in on the last play, as Bud Grant looks on as his Vikings have a long, long road to go.
This is probably an offensive change we'll see throughout the day. It looks like something new for Minnesota. That is the 2 tight end offense, and they'll use it particularly against this defense for Miami with only 3 linemen down.
2nd and 8. Chuck Foreman, the intended receiver, but almost picked off, and it's going to be 3rd down and 8.
We mentioned before that it's overcast and very misty, but 52 degrees, and we're told no threat of rain here in Houston. And that gives us a chance to remind you that the unprecedented cold weather in Kansas City, where it's 5 degrees below, we're told, and 14 to 16 inches of snow, has forced workouts for the AFC-NFC Pro Bowl game to be switched to San Diego.
For the Vikings, a 3rd and 8.
They're down. 8 to go.
This is caught by tight end Stu Voigt. Well, there was a great catch. And it's a Viking first down at the Viking 39-yard line.
It is a great catch, Ray. He had to come back for the ball just a little bit. His feet slipped. We've had quite a bit of rain here during the week. But he still kept his eye on the football and came back and made a fine catch. Stu Voigt, he's had a good year without much recognition.
First downs tells quite a story. Sometimes first downs are misleading. Not in this game. This is Oscar Reed, unable to hold on, and closing in on him was Doug Swift. Ball might have been thrown just a little bit behind him, and he had to make a turn I'm sure he didn't want to make. I don't believe that the most rabid Miami Dolphin fan, Pat, and Bart Starr expected this kind of dominance by their Dolphins over the Vikings at this stage of the game, certainly.
I don't think so either.
We said in unison. I don't think so either.
Bob Matheson now comes out of the lineup, and that means that Bob Hines is back in. 2nd down and 10. Nope, they're still going with 3 down men and an additional defensive back, Tim Foley. Foreman trying to get outside. Vern Den-Herder held him up behind the line so that he was able to get back just to the line of scrimmage, and it is going to be 3rd down and 10. And remember, the Vikings have yet to cross midfield, and only 4 minutes and 10 seconds remain in the first half, as this Miami Dolphin defense has been just nothing less than brilliant. 3rd down, 10. Gilliam right. Kings right or left. Fine catch. Stu Voigt, 45-yard line. Ruled the 46-yard line that it was dead. Lloyd Mumford thought he had the football, but it was ruled to be in possession of the Vikings with 3.5 minutes left in the first half. Here it is again.
Another fine catch by Stu Voigt. Another good throw by Tarkenton.
Bart, Fran Tarkenton has now, of course, the obvious battle, the clock, as well as this Miami Dolphin defense.
Well, he does, and the thing that I wanted to mention right here was that he deserves a lot of credit for finding someone open into that maze.
Oscar Reed, the man in motion. This is Gilliam. And he'll wind up with about 3 very tough yards as Dick Bonaconte and Mike Colon, 2 of Miami's linebackers, played very well against that pass completion.
I think one thing about this Miami defense, played so well all year long, they have so many different variations that they can throw at you. They deal really in confusion. As Bart said a minute ago, it's a maze. The problem is they don't get confused, they get you confused.
Rookie Jim Lash, number 82, is lined up as a wing-back right on 2nd down 7 at the Dolphin 43. Foreman in motion. Fumble. I think Tarkenton held on, but loses a couple, and Vern Den-Herder was on top of him. Looked like they were trying to flood receivers on the right side that time, Pat.
Well, they had Jim Lash and Chuck Foreman, as well as Gilliam, all out on that same side. Miami, if you've ever watched them play, you know they play one of the finest zone defenses in pro football. And in order to beat a zone, you got to put a lot of receivers in one area.
That whistle means that we have a 2-minute warning. 2 minutes left to play in the first half. The Vikings struggling to get on the board and trailing 17-0 with 2 minutes left in the first half. As the Vikings are faced with a 3rd and 9 at the 45 of Miami, it might be well to keep in mind that Fred Cox of Minnesota, his longest field goal of this season came in the playoff game against Dallas of 44 yards. So he would have to be considered to be beyond his range right now. It's the 53 defense featuring Bob Matheson now on 3rd and 9. Gilliam 15-yard line. Curtis Johnson finally got him. And the Vikings have immediately asked for a timeout, and they'll have 1:46 left to play in the half when play is resumed. Bart, how about that for a brilliant pattern run by Warfield?
Well, it was an excellent route run by John Gilliam.
I'm sorry, Gilliam, Bart.
As our viewers are going to watch right here, this is Gilliam coming out. And it's probably one of the deeper patterns you'll see thrown against this, but very effectively. He's going inside here. The ball is on rhythm. And now this guy also has the ability to do something with it once he catches it. This is a great play by Fran Tarkington and John Gilliam.
So number 42 of the Vikings, John Gilliam, runs the sort of a pattern that we saw Paul Warfield, number 42 of the Dolphins, run in their playoff victory against Oakland.
It's something that Gilliam and Tarkington both used, I think, fine judgment in. And looking at that defense Bart Starr was just pointing out a minute ago, it is almost impossible to get behind those three deep men in the Miami zone. They just take off. So Gilliam, I think, used a lot of judgment in cutting underneath.
Foley has replaced Mumford. Tarkington keeping. And he's down to the 7 or 8 yard line, within about 2.5 yards of a first down. And I don't think there was any doubt that that was a planned play on the part of Tarkington.
No doubt about it. He never even looked for anybody to throw it to. Plus, the offside of his offensive line was downfield blocking, trying to set up a wall for it.
Second down, 2.5 at the Dolphins, 7.5. Oscar Reed, and he gets nothing at all. He's met by Bob Matheson, number 53. The Vikings asked for a timeout. 1 timeout remaining now to Minnesota, and it is going to be third down. Let's see where the ball is placed, as Tarkington is going to consult with the Minnesota coaches. It's going to be third down and still 2.5 yards for a first down.
I think, Ray, one of the worst things that can happen to you in a football game or in a season or whatever the case might be is to become predictable. And we have said so many times when the Vikings get into a situation where they need short yardage for a first down, they run toward Ron Yeri, who they consider to be their finest offensive blocker. They have done it twice without success. They did it just then with Reed. They did it once before.
Third down, about 3 yards for a first down. The ball at the Miami 8. A minute 13 remaining in the first half. Oscar Reed. And from the defensive unit, number 88, Alan Page looks on as Reed carried to the 6. Now here is a big decision. Are the Vikings going to be satisfied with 3 points? Are they going to go for a first down? And limping off the field is Vern Den-Herder, number 83, and Bob Hines, number 72, is going to replace him.
And they're going to go for it.
Time left, less than a minute, and the clock is running. 2 tight ends, Kingsrider. Chuck Goodrum, number 68, comes in. 4th and 1 at the 6.
Vikings have 1 more timeout remaining.
Oscar Reed, I don't think he got it. Nick Bonacani, the middle linebacker, made a great defensive play. And the Vikings went for the first down. They came up empty, and the Dolphin defense has made a tremendous play.
Now that's 3 times in crucial situations where they've run to the same spot. Ed White pulling, but they're running behind the blocking of Ron Yeri. And as I said a minute ago, the worst thing that can happen to you, or certainly one of the worst, is to become predictable.
Bart, do you have any thoughts about that situation of a moment ago?
Yes, I do. I think he pointed out very well. Miami went to the area just as quick as the Vikings did.
So the Dolphins have the ball at the Dolphin 5 with 30 seconds left in the half. And Zonka burrows straight ahead for a yard or so. Let's check what Larry's running yardage is so far here in the first half. He has gained 83 yards and 15 carries, has Larry Zonka, as Bud Grant and Fran Tarkenton were just chatting an instant ago, and the final seconds are ticking away, and I would doubt whether we'll have any more plays here in the half, except that the Vikings called time with 12 seconds remaining.
And as I mentioned a minute ago, that's their last one. And this becomes, I suppose, one of the important points of the first half, the fact that they had to use 2 other timeouts on that previous drive when they didn't make the first down. Now that's their last one. There's no other way for them to stop the clock now.
Bart, I wonder if I could ask you, it would just seem to me that that failing to get that first down and failing to score and ignoring the 3 points that seemed to be almost certain, it could do a tremendous thing to the morale of the Vikings.
It certainly could, and I think we're going to take a good look at that in this second half. But, you know, they have done a good job coming up to now and taking some gambles. They've paid off for them, and perhaps they really thought they could get it. Obviously, it was a very short distance to get.
Second down and 10 at the Dolphin 5. The clock will start with the snap. Zonka, protecting the ball, has carried for the final play now of the half as the Vikings' timeouts are gone. That's the end of the first half with the score. The Miami Dolphins 17, the Minnesota Vikings nothing. The second half is about to begin. Just in that rare case that you may not have been with us, it is 17-0 in favor of the Dolphins. Zonka scored the first touchdown, kicked the second. Epermian added both extra points and kicked a field goal. The Vikings gambled 4th and 1 at the 6-yard line of Miami and did not get the first down as they turned their back on a 3 points from Fred Cox, the kicker. So Epermian prepares to kick to John Gilliam and Charlie West, and shortly we will know whether the Vikings can get something going and get back in this game. Gilliam at the 1. He got away from Epermian. A marker is down. Tim Foley might have saved a touchdown, but there's a marker down at the Viking 21-yard line, and I do believe this is going to be called back. Clipping against Minnesota.
That's the kind of break to begin the first half that the Vikings really needed to give themselves a lift. That could turn out to be the penalty of the game.
So the infraction occurred in the vicinity of the 21. The Vikings must start from just beyond their 10, as again referee Ben Dreith indicates clipping against Minnesota. So Gilliam's brilliant return is nullified. And as Bart Starr pointed out at halftime, the Vikings are going to have to look at that 53 defense, and it's Stu Voigt who was guilty of clipping. Gilliam and Carroll Dale come out wide left. Veteran receiver Carroll Dale. Foreman gets about 3. And Bart Starr, I'd like to ask you what the presence of a Carroll Dale means to a quarterback.
Well, it means everything, Ray, because he's probably one of the most disciplined route runners in the history of professional football. And with the many zones that you face today, he not only is a great route runner, but he can help your young receivers a great deal also.
As it turned out, Carroll was in for just that one play, and as Foreman gained 2, it is 2nd and 8. And Kingsrider replaces Dale, and he is going to line up as the wide receiver to the left. That was almost intercepted by linebacker Mike Colin. Foreman wound up with it, but Colin had nothing but 13 yards of synthetic turf in front of him.
Within inches of being 24-0 now. As Colin, number 57, watch him. He's got a perfect shot at this. Right through his hands and into the hands of Chuck Foreman.
There is no gain on the play, and it is 3rd down and about 8. Offensive line, Alderman, White, Tingelhoff, Gallagher, Yari. Foreman in motion. Fernandez nails Tarkenton. Fernandez got away from Frank Gallagher, I believe it was, and nails Tarkenton, and Fernandez continues his brilliant Super Bowl play.
He's involved first with Mick Tingelhoff. Number 75 with his back to you. What a great Super Bowl he had last year against Washington. Gallagher didn't see him coming soon enough to turn and try to pick him up. He's just as fast as Tarkenton.
Now Mike Eyeshide from deep in the end zone, punting to Anderson and Scott. Eyeshide has a fine punt. Back at the Miami 45, Jake Scott trying to get outside. Fine run back to the 43-yard line of Minnesota. 1st and 10 at the Viking 43. Zonka and Mercury Morris. Mercury Morris held firm by middle linebacker Jeff Seaman, number 50, and there might have been a gain of 1.
Jeff Seaman, number 50, as we mentioned a minute before. Performance of the middle linebacker often dictates how well a team does. Seaman has performed very well all year and continued to do so on that play.
Kick comes in, number 21. It is 2nd and 9. Warfield in the slot to the right. Warfield in motion. Zonka. That hole closed at the 38-yard line, and the Dolphins will have a 3rd and 5, and it's Jeff Seaman again who made a fine play.
Again, let's watch him individually. And watch his quick reactions. This was a passing situation, of course. The Dolphins ran a draw, as Greasy did with success in the first half.
3rd down, 5. For the Vikings, Marshall, Page, Larson, Eller, Hilgenberg, Seaman, Winston, Nate Wright, Jeff Wright, Krause, and Bryant. Third and 5, great protection. Paul Warfield at the 11-yard line.
After watching him warm up, I thought there'd be no way that he'd be able to play with any degree of effectiveness in this game. This is a fine pass by Greasy and a really spectacular catch.
Bart?
Well, Pat, the point I was going to make is that was a double zone again, and I think the strong safety, Jeff Wright, just made a mistake and blew it.
1st down at the Viking 11. Zonka to the 7. Carl Eller. Jeff Seaman.
From above, let's watch the offensive blocking again. Langer cutting off Larson, who appeared to go the wrong way. Norm Evans blocking on Eller. Seaman over in part of the action at the end.
10 minutes remaining, 3rd period. Greasy now is 6 of 7. 72 yards. Greasy out of bounds at the 6, maybe the 5. Winston ran him out of bounds. It's going to be 3rd down and 4.
You hear so much about what a fine runner Fran Tarkenton is, but Greasy is probably just as good a runner. He doesn't do it as much. But he had 3 big gainers last week against Oakland, 2 weeks ago, I should say. And he's a good runner. In fact, these 2 quarterbacks probably throw as well on the move as anybody around.
For the Dolphins, it is a 3rd down and 4 at the Viking 5. Greasy sends Briscoe to the right. Warfield to the left. Mercury Morris and a marker goes flying. Let's see what the preliminary signal is.
According to Greasy, it's defensive holding against Minnesota, but let's see.
If so, that means it is a first down and goal for the Dolphins, as the Vikings have consistently today been grievously injured by penalties.
This is another place where I guess you'd have to say the Dolphins have a tremendous edge. They are the least penalized team in all of pro football. They were not penalized at all in the first half, and they have not been yet.
Now let's watch this signal. The ball is placed at the 8-yard line. Bob Greasy is asking referee Ben Drive to explain this. Holding Minnesota. First down. Now let's see, that play ended out of bounds around the 16-yard line, so it's a half the distance from the 16. But it is a first and goal at the 8.5. And Tarkenton looks on. Jim Kick is in. He's lined up to the left of Zonka. Zonka, big hole. He's down to the 2. Bobby Bryant upsetting. But Wayne Moore did a fine job in front of Zonka.
The whole left side of the offensive line does a good job. Kuchenberg, Moore, and Mandich is over there this time, too. Big hole, as he pointed out. Bart, what do you think?
That's a classic fullback play, that slant play, and I don't think there's anyone around today that runs it any better than Larry Zonka.
For the Vikings, Bud Grant has sent in Bob Lertzema, number 75. He has taken out the free safety, Paul Krause. Second and goal at the 2. Zonka, touchdown.
He had 3 last in the playoff game, the championship game of the AFC against Oakland. He has 2 today from ground level. Somebody just got a piece of him. I think it was Roy Winston. Perhaps it was Hilgenberg. But there's no way to get him down with an arm. 20 carries, 93 yards for Zonka.
Morrow holds for Epremian with 8:44 left to play in the third quarter. And I think it's pretty safe to say that when the Vikings get the ball the next time, whether they score or not will dictate whether we have a runaway Miami victory. High above Rice Stadium here at Houston, Texas. I believe the mist has lifted just a little bit, but fortunately we've had no rain. Epremian kicks. Gilliam at the 5. He gets it out to the 26-yard line. Bob Matheson made the tackle.
This is Zonka's last touchdown. A few minutes ago, Greasy almost dropped the ball in the exchange from his center. What a fine charge by the offensive line. Let's look again.
21 yards on the return by Gilliam.
Jim Kick, who was in the game, didn't even have to block.
Tarkenton sends Gilliam to the left. And he makes a correction now and has Carroll Dale also on the left as a slot back. Tarkenton picks up about 6 where he met Matheson.
The Dolphins would be happy to let him do that for the rest of the afternoon. Obviously could not find anybody open and had to take off. Amazing thing that goes along with that statistic is that he has never been out because of an injury.
Carroll Dale was in for just the first down play. Kingsrider replaces him now. 2nd and 4. This is Foreman. He has a first down. Manny Fernandez made the tackle. So the Vikings trying desperately to get something going. If you missed the action toward the end of the first half, the Vikings had an opportunity on 4th and 1 at the Miami 6 to go for an almost certain 3 points. They elected to run for the first down and didn't get it. Bart?
Ray, I think it might be interesting for our viewers to realize why the Vikings have 2 tight ends in there. Against this 3-man rush, it's an ideal thing to do is run with the ball.
First down at the Viking 41. Reed. Oscar Reed picks up 6. And he's out to the Viking 47. Gary Larson, number 77, one of the front 4 of the Minnesota Vikings. And they have been handled very well so far today by that offensive line of the Dolphins.
Larson has the unenviable task of facing Larry Little. And that's a tough job for anybody.
It is 2nd and 4, and Gilliam is to the left and Kingsrider to the right. 6:40 left to play, 3rd quarter. Oscar Reed. And he's going to lose a couple as cornerback Tim Foley, with help, played it very, very well.
This was almost a lateral, as Francis had to throw it over the head, I would assume, of defensive lineman Vern Denherter, out to Oscar Reed. No, it's not quite a lateral, but almost. But he had to throw the ball so high to get it over Denherter, who's 6'6", that he couldn't get anything on it. Great pursuit by that defensive unit.
It was a loss of 1. It is 3rd and 5.
From their 46.
Oscar Reed gets nothing. There was Bob Matheson, and it is 4th and 5. And the punter comes on. The special unit.
Brings up a 4th down for Minnesota.
Miami in a 3-man defense again, but 3rd and 5 and trailing 24-0. It's hard to understand a call like that. But as Bart pointed out a minute ago, when you look at that 3-man line defensive setup, you think you ought to be able to run against it. But nobody can.
It is 4th down and 4, and Mike Eyeshide will be punting to Jake Scott, who is backing up around the 10-yard line now. Off the side of his foot, but a good roll for Minnesota. And it's going to be down at the 11-yard line of the Miami Dolphins. And with 5:03 left to play in the 3rd quarter.
Marv Fleming. 2 Super Bowls at Green Bay, now 3 with Miami.
First down, Dolphins from the Dolphin 11. Mercury Morris to the 14. Carl Eller has him in his grasp, and it's going to be 2nd down and 7. Looking back on it now, barring a sudden turn here in the fortunes of the Minnesota Vikings, the tone of this game was set when Bob Greasy took the Dolphins after the opening kickoff on a perfectly executed 10-play touchdown drive with Larry Zonka getting the touchdown.
What the Dolphins need right now is a sustained drive. What the Vikings need is no first downs by Miami, and get the ball back just as soon as possible.
Zonka. First down, 27-yard line. Wally Hilgenberg made the tackle.
From behind Larry Zonka, you get a chance to see the awesome power and the great cuts which he has. 21 carries, 107 yards already. Wally Hilgenberg got the run.
It's a first down at the Miami 27. Briscoe comes right. Warfield goes left. This time, Jim Marshall nails Zonka behind the line, and Gary Larson took Greasy back about 8 yards.
They just barely got that exchange off between the two of them. Zonka, I think that time, was late off the ball. The coaches, just by looking at him, you wouldn't know who was winning, would you?
There is, I think, just a little bit of satisfaction showing on Don Shula's face, Pat. Jim Kicknow checks in as it is a 2nd down and 12. The ball just inside the Dolphin 25. 3 minutes left to play in the 3rd quarter. This is Zonka. Seaman gets him at the 30, and Miami will have a 3rd down and 8.
Zonka now is very near the Super Bowl record for most yardage rushing in a game. It's held by Matt Snell in the game against Baltimore, 121 yards in 30 attempts. That's the Super Bowl record, and Zonka is very close.
Will Greasy put it in the air on 3rd and 8? He has Warfield to the left, and Bobby Bryant goes with him. He has Briscoe to the right. Zonka did not fool the Vikings this time. The 2 tackles pinched in, Page and Larson, and the Vikings will get the football with about 2 minutes left to play in the 3rd period.
77 along with Page, 88 on the tackle.
Bobby Bryant is dropping back for the anticipated punt from Larry Seiple, who has not had an opportunity today to do very much punting.
Minnesota, number 20, Brown.
Bryant is a single safety. He's the only deep man. Let's see if the Vikings try to put a rush on the kicker. Rather short kick, and the Vikings are going to get pretty good field position at the Minnesota 43-yard line with 1 minute and 34 seconds left to play in the 3rd quarter. That was Tim Foley who downed the ball. So let's see what Tarkenton comes up with here in the way of strategy. Among those in attendance, Doug Sanders, the professional golfer, and to his right, Andy Williams here at Rice Stadium. For the Vikings, 1st and 10, Viking 43-yard line. This is Foreman. And Foreman gets it just across the 50. It'll be 2nd down and 3. Bob Matheson made the tackle. Now Carroll Dale again was in on 1st down, but I believe looks like Ed Marinaro is coming into the backfield. Number 49. Now Marinaro replacing Foreman is a fine receiver. This is Marinaro. And he is just about reached the 46-yard line. It's going to be very close to a 1st down. Manny Fernandez met the former Cornell star, Marinaro, around the 46. And this is going to call for a measurement, I do believe. Foreman immediately comes back into the game, and it is a 1st down for the Vikings with 30 seconds left to play in the 3rd quarter and the clock running. Dolphin defense. And the man in the white raincoat there at the upper left of your screen is Kansas City Chief head coach Hank Stram. Foreman hit hard by Nick Buoniconti, and it's going to be 2nd and 10 with 8 seconds left to play in the 3rd period. See, Hank Stram's Kansas City club led the Vikings by what score in their Super Bowl game, Pat?
It was 16-0 at the half, and the Vikings came back and scored. Kansas City went on to win 23-0 as 23-7, I beg your pardon, as Nick Buoniconti comes out. And an extra defensive back goes in.
2nd down.
Charles Babb is the back that's gone in to replace Buoniconti.
This is a 2nd and 10, and Marinaro is back in for Minnesota. This is caught by Gilliam on a comeback, and the gun has just sounded. That's the end of the 3rd quarter with the score. Miami 24, Minnesota nothing. The gentleman there in the horn-rimmed glasses, and I think that's a gray raincoat, if I read my monitor correctly, Pat, is Joe Robbie, the man who's the head of the Miami Dolphins. This is a 3rd and 8 for Minnesota. Stu Boyd, great catch, 1st down, 29-yard line. He has certainly been the key receiver for Minnesota today.
He certainly has. Bart, how's he managed to get open like he has?
Well, he runs down and he stays about as close to the man who is assigned in that particular area and then just steps just outside his area, and a great throw. You've got to be able to throw darts and complete them like that.
Vikings first down, 29-yard line. Mumford is out. Buoniconti is back in. Gilliam. 20-yard line. It's going to be 2nd and 1. Tim Foley defending on the play. Now number 82, Jim Lash, the rookie receiver, has moved in from Minnesota.
Fran Tarkenton's got a couple of things, more than that actually, to keep his eyes on right now. All those Miami defenders, and he's got to take a cautious look at the clock from time to time. The kind of pass he just completed to Gilliam is the kind he needs.
Jim Lash, the intended receiver, but overthrown as Curtis Johnson was over to defend. And a linebacker dropping off was Mike Colon. It is going to be 3rd and 1. And in comes a Kings rider and Goodrum. Out will go Lash and Gilliam. 14-16 left to play. Matheson has left the defensive unit now, and Bob Hines has checked back in, number 72. 24-0 Dolphins. First down, Oscar Reed. He's down to the 13. Jake Scott from the secondary made the tackle, but the drive stays alive.
Back to the same place again in short yardage, except this time it works. Good cut by Reed and a good charge by the Viking offensive line in this case. Jake Scott riding Oscar Reed to the ground with Dick Anderson helping.
Jim Lash has come back in, and he'll line up wide to the left, drawing the attention of cornerback Curtis Johnson. Gilliam is off to the right. This is complete inside the 5 to Jim Lash, with Curtis Johnson making the tackle at around the between the 3 and 4 yard line, and this is close to a first down.
And by far the best looking drive Minnesota's been able to put together. Of course, you're bound to have a letdown on defense when you look up there and see leading 24-0 in the fourth period.
It is 2nd down and less than 1 for a first down. The ball, just length of the ball, inside the 4.
Second down, as long as the game for the play.
Tarkenton is going to run it in for the touchdown. For the second time today, Tarkenton ran a same type of play, this time to put the Vikings on the board with 13:25 remaining in the game.
A design play again, and designed for Francis to run, and not really ever looking for a pass to any great degree. He just put it away and took it in behind the blocks of Oscar Reed and Marinero, I believe. Kings rider, I beg your pardon.
Paul Krause, the holder for Fred Cox. So now our attention is going to turn from the Viking offense to the Viking defense. Fred Cox will kick to deep men Jake Scott, 13, and Mercury Morris, 22. Uh-oh. They're going to try and... Who has it? Vikings have it. It hit one of the Dolphins. It went the required distance, and it's a first down for the Vikings at the 49-yard line of Miami.
There is a real art to executing this as well as Fred Cox just did it. The Dolphin player was trying to get out of the way, hoping the ball would go out of bounds. It's Bob Matheson, I believe, that the ball hit.
And there was a penalty on the play. I must admit, I turned away. I did not see what it was. Was it offside on the kickoff? Offside on the kickoff, and the Vikings now have had so many costly penalties. The return of the second half kickoff by Gilliam, a brilliant return, nullified by a clipping penalty. Just one of the penalties that has hurt Minnesota. So now, I am sure that Miami will be ever so alert as far as a possible attempt for the Vikings to keep control of the ball here.
They got different people up there in that front line now.
They have some receivers and defensive backs up front.
Larry Seipel is over there along with Tim Foley. Those who are used to handling the ball.
Curtis Johnson is up close to the front line. Jim Mandich is up near. A squibber. Jake Scott. And he is collared, and I mean literally collared, at the 33-yard line from the Dolphin 34-yard line. Zonka to the 37. Fran Tarkenton apparently is going to require some attention on the part of the Minnesota trainer. 24-7, less than 13 minutes remaining in the game. Wally Hilgenberg made that last defensive play. Zonka picked up 3 at his second down and 7. He has to be pretty close to that record now. What was it? 121 yards by Matt Snell.
Right.
Rushing record for an individual in the Super Bowl. Mercury Morris trying to get outside, but he is spun around by Roy Winston, and it's going to be 3rd and about 10, and Jim Kick comes off the bench to replace Morris.
Ray, I don't think it's any big secret that because of the situation the Vikings find themselves in there, you're going to see them blitzing a great deal from here on out. They had one on there, and it worked real well.
This is a 3rd and 10 play coming up.
Jim Kick in the offensive lineup now has a reputation of being a fine blocker as well as a good pass receiver. This is a move that the Dolphins frequently use. It remains to be seen whether or not Greasy will put the ball in the air or not.
He has suffered no interceptions. 3rd and 10. He gets it to the 40, short of a first down. It's going to be 4th and 4 as Wally Hilgenberg and Jeff Wright made the tackle. So the Vikings will get the ball with about 11 minutes remaining in the game and trailing by 17 points, 24-7. Larry Seipel comes on. Bobby Bryant is dropping back, anticipating this punt by Miami. The Vikings have 10 men up on the line. Great punt. It's going to be downed around the 1 or 2 yard line by Mike Colin. And the Dolphins continue to do just about everything right. 8.5 minutes remaining. It is going to be 3rd down and 2. This drive started at the Viking 3 after a beautiful punt by Larry Seipel.
And again, those type of passes, although they do buy first downs, just don't get enough points on the board quickly enough.
Hines goes in. Matheson goes out. Bill Brown gets it out around the 36-yard line. He ran into Bill Stanfield. First down. So the veteran Bill Brown immediately makes his presence known after coming into the game, catches a pass, makes a 3rd down run for a first down. Hines goes out. Matheson goes in for Miami.
Chuck Foreman on the sideline, not playing at the moment because the 2 backs in the game, Marinero and Brown, both are better pass receivers.
Interference. Defensive back Tim Foley went on the back of intended receiver Doug Kingsrider. And result, first down, Minnesota at the Viking 41. 7:36 left, and you can check this one out yourself.
Foley did not even contest this call at all. Marinaro, of course, a good bit bigger than Tim, had his body in between, and he had to go ahead and make his commitment. It's going to be a completion anyway. Interference penalty, no question about it, called against Foley.
And it's an automatic first down. And it stops the clock. 7:36 remaining. Mumford is out. Linebacker Larry Ball comes in. Gilliam comes right. Lash comes right. This is Marinaro. He just won't go down at the 33-yard line in the grasp of Curtis Johnson. Great effort by Marinaro.
Curtis Johnson is really upset. And but for that grip that he had on Marinaro's jersey, the Vikings would have had another touchdown. That pass interference penalty by Tim Foley a minute ago, by the way, was the first penalty of the game against Miami. That's another one of many reasons they win.
This is a first down. It was intended for Jim Lash running that deep sideline pattern. It stops the clock with 6:43 remaining. And it's a Vikings 2nd and 10 at the Miami 32. Gilliam comes right, and Foley moves out with him. Dale goes left, and he draws the attention of Johnson, plus a linebacker. Stu Voigt and Gilliam were both down there deep, but it is going to be 3rd and 10, and I'm not sure that the word critical is even puts emphasis enough on what's coming up here in the way of a 3rd down and 10 for Minnesota, Pat.
Well, I think one thing that Tarkenton and the Vikings now have going for them is that 3-man rush by the Miami defensive line. They've just got, by sheer strength of numbers, more blockers than the Dolphins have rushers. 18 for 27 for a total of 182 yards. And that is a record number of completions in a Super Bowl game for Fran Tarkenton. The old record held by Joe Namath in Super Bowl III.
3rd down, 10. Intercepted. Curtis Johnson. 9-yard line. And tempers are beginning to get frayed as Johnson comes up with the first interception of the game. So the Miami defense taking the ball out of the air in the person of Curtis Johnson, number 45. Pat, let's go down to Bart.
Thank you very much, Ray. Our viewers here are going to get a great look at this Miami defense. I think on the lineup you can see the beautiful spacing they maintain across the field. Just keep your eyes on these 3 deep backs and how they proportion themselves across this field, and how Johnson is cutting in. The ball is a little bit overthrown here, but nevertheless he was in great position and makes an outstanding interception. This is one of the reasons they're so tough.
This turnover on the part of the interception, throw in penalties in key situations, and that's the reason for Miami 24, Minnesota 7, 6 minutes and 24 seconds remaining. And a Dolphin offensive line of Moore, Kuchenberg, Langer, Little, Evans, and tight end Jim Mandich. Larry Zonka. He's out to the 17-yard line, and we're going to keep a close look on the unofficial rushing yardage, because while Tarkenton broke the pass completion record, Larry Zonka comes very, very close to the rushing record. And as Pat pointed out, it came when Matt Snell ran for 121 yards in the Jets' victory over Baltimore.
And unofficially, he has broken Snell's rushing record with that run right there. He's now got 123 yards. Snell took 30 carries to do it.
2nd down, 3. Zonka has a first down, and undoubtedly he has a new Super Bowl record now. And the clock keeps ticking away, and we now know that the great Larry Zonka leader on the ground of this just unrelenting Miami running attack, which first expressed itself today in the opening drive of the game. 10 plays, just 2 passes by Greasy, both completed, and the announcement has just been made to this capacity crowd at Rice Stadium that Larry Zonka has indeed set a new individual record. First down and 10. Jim kicked Burrows for several yards.
There's been so much talk about how this Dolphin team felt about winning this Super Bowl game, so they might be favorably compared with the only other team that won 2 back-to-back, the Green Bay Packers. They felt if they could do that, that would be one of the things that might prove them to be certainly one of the great teams of all time.
And what certainly must be a disappointing afternoon for the young man we saw there an instant ago, Fran Tarkenton. Zonka adds yet a couple of more yards to that impressive total, and when the ball is next snapped, barring a timeout by the Vikings, we will have less than 4 minutes remaining. Carl Eller made the tackle on that last play.
Somebody asked Don Shula how much this game meant to him and if that comparison meant that much, and he said it certainly did, but of more importance to him was in Super Bowl competition, he was just trying to get up to 500 because he had won only 1 and lost 2, 1 with the Dolphins, 1 with the Colts. Sure looks like he's done a great job this time.
Third down and 8. Zonka is met by Seaman and Roy Winston, and we have a marker down inside the 15-yard line. Alan Page hit Greasy, and a marker is down, and number 88, Alan Page, is arguing vehemently. Jim Marshall, his teammate, close friend. So once again, we're going to have a penalty against the Vikings that is going to hurt their cause, although in all honesty, of course, this one comes when the game is well out of hand.
We're in a nest of Dolphin fans up in the upper deck here at Rice Stadium, and they have been chanting "We're number 1" for about the last quarter and a half.
Now, I was going to say, Pat, ordinarily I don't like to point out things that we do not all get an opportunity to see, but I think it should be pointed out that after that penalty was measured off, the guy that went and patted Bob Greasy on the back in a very friendly way was one Alan Page. Howard Twilley has checked in, number 81, and Paul Warfield is out. First down at the 40-yard line. There goes Zonka on his relentless way again out to the 45-yard line. Second down and 6. Marv Fleming, number 80, playing in his 5th Super Bowl, has come in now. He's a tight end. Twilley lines up as a wingback to the left with less than 3 minutes remaining in the game.
Second down and 6.
Jim kick to the 49, and it's going to be third down and 1, and a marker goes down.
Here is Alan Page, and he has been handled extremely well today. That's about the only thing you can say by the offensive line for Miami. Bob Kuechenberg and Alan Page getting rid of some of that frustration. It has to be a frustrating afternoon for all of the Minnesota Vikings. This is their second trip to Super Bowl. They lost to Kansas City 23-7. They trailed Miami 24-7.
Well, we have offsetting personal fouls now.
That had to be that exchange between Kuechenberg and Page that you just saw.
So with 2:45 remaining, let's see, we did have the run came to within about a yard of a first down, and I'm a little bit at a loss here, Pat. The penalty, the infractions occurred after the play was dead, so the gain stands. then the offsetting penalties, so it is going to be third and short yardage. With 2 minutes and 45 seconds remaining. So Fran Tarkenton, who wanted so very much to win this game for his Minnesota Viking team, and as he has expressed it over and again, he wanted to forever have that label of loser erased.
In fairness to him, I think it's already been erased with the 2 victories this year.
Third and about a foot, the ball at the 50. And the markers go flying as we'll find out now. Were the Vikings offside? Were they drawn offside by an illegal procedure? Offside Minnesota. First down Dolphins. And I think that penalty, Pat, coming at this stage of the game, just sort of puts the final stamp on the frustrations felt by that man, Alan Page, and by the Vikings as a team today.
Well, Tarkenton has said beautifully that quarterbacks don't lose football games, teams do. And he's also said that quarterbacks don't win them, teams do. And I think that's the best way to describe everything, Pat.
I couldn't agree more.
First down, Dolphins, Viking 45. Jim Kick gets a yard or so, and another 30 seconds will be erased from the clock.
There's so many things about a game of this magnitude that are going to be hashed and rehashed as time passes. This man, Don Shula, put his Dolphins through a rigorous training schedule getting ready for this game. No time off. Very, very tough schedule, whereas Bud Grant gave his Vikings a whole week off before they came to Houston and began workouts again. So the way they approached it has to be something that will be discussed.
42-year-old Don Shula. There goes Zonka to the 38-yard line. Once again, we got a magnificent bird's eye view, a high-flying bird's eye view of Rice Stadium here in Houston, Texas, as we are a minute and 58 seconds away from the conclusion of Super Bowl VIII.
Before the game, we were standing around down on the field, and the Viking mascot came roaring out, and that fish, the dolphin, came roaring out the challenge out of the stand.
Zonka and Kick are the running backs. Zonka has been in on every offensive series, every offensive play. Howard Twitty in motion. Zonka. Jim Marshall straightens him up. Very close to another Miami Dolphin first down.
That carry right there is number 31 for Zonka. So that breaks Matt Snell's old record, too, of 30 carries, 30 attempts in a game. He already had broken the yardage record.
And this is not an old Miami Dolphin team, we should point out. Fourth and about a foot. And Zonka gets the foot and a first down.
Zonka is leaving. What a day.
Larry Zonka, who has set an individual record and by his play set the early tone of this game. He is replaced by Don Nottingham. This is Jim Kick getting it inside the 30. And with the Dolphins controlling the ball here in the final seconds, it sort of puts the topping on an outstanding performance. There's Nick Buoniconti, the leader on the field of the Miami Dolphin defense. The final seconds now are ticking away. Bob Kuchenberg leaves. Wayne Moore leaves. Irv Goody comes in. The Miami Dolphin fans, some 12,000 strong, count off the final seconds as the Miami Dolphins have duplicated Super Bowls I and II, where the Packers won back-to-back championships, and with a resounding and overwhelming victory, the Miami Dolphins have made it 2 in a row. So that is the end of the game with the score. The Miami Dolphins 24, the Minnesota Vikings 7.